talk about the Packers free agents now. And here are the names. Basically, we have it broken down into for sure guys that we need to sign, tender them, questionable that we could see it going either way. We have a few no's, like please do not sign this guy, and then unsure. We don't really know too much about them. So we can start with the for sures. So
All right.
Lazard, right?
Allen Lazard, wide receiver. We need wide receivers. Hopefully we bring one in, and hopefully we bring him back. Allen Lazard, he was kind of a wide receiver too last season. Allen Lazard was not made to be a wide receiver too last season. He was injured part of the season, which also hurt him. Before his injury, I think he was leading the Packers in some receiving categories besides touchdowns, which was Devontae Adams. I think he was leading, though, in yards a game. He really was until he got injured. And I like Lazard as our wide receiver 3 or 4. I want to bring him back, but I don't want him to be the wide receiver 2. We still need to address that position, even if when we bring Lazard back.
He's a really good blocker, pretty sure-handed, really fast for deep bombs. I think that Saints game, he had like over 100 yards, really showed out. I think this is a no-brainer. They have to get him. Next guy, Chandon Sullivan. So he was our nickel cornerback last year. He's not the best, right? Like he's serviceable though, and a cheap guy who's serviceable, you need to sign him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Sullivan, nickel corner. Hopefully we're bringing another quarterback, and he stays right there as our third corner. And yeah, he gets targeted. They do target him, but he can prove that sometimes he does stop them. He's good enough to be that third corner, and
Yeah.
I like him.
Next, Mercedes Lewis, big dog. I wouldn't be completely mad if they got rid of him. I just think he serves a good role as a blocker. He's still one of the best in the league. Really good locker room guy. I think they should sign him again.
Yeah, Mercedes Lewis, only first round pick that Aaron Rodgers has ever thrown a touchdown to. He has 3 or 4 of them. And I also like Mercedes Lewis, not because he just catches every ball that's thrown his way, but he's a good mentor in the locker room.
Exactly.
He's really taught Robert Tonyan a lot. And Mercedes Lewis is a good guy to have around. He brings up the energy. He teaches the young guys. He's a good mentor.
Exactly. Next, we have Lancaster. Like I said, serviceable, does his job, would be inexpensive. I see no reason why not to bring him back.
Yep, I'm right with you there on that one. Not much more to add there.
We have tight end Bobby Tonyan. So we would need to tender him. And so you could either do a first round, a second round, or an original. I'd say second round tender. So you get paid about $3 million. Pro Bowl snub, should have made it over Evan Ingram without a doubt. Really was our probably third option last year for Aaron Rodgers. I'd say outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. What are your thoughts?
Bobby T, Pro Bowl snub. Evan Ingram had 1 touchdown when the voting went down. Tony had double-digit touchdowns. He's good friends with George Kittle. They work out together, and obviously they're both. I think he is a little better than George Kittle, if I'm being honest. George Kittle is pretty overrated. Robert Tonyan, we bring him back in, and I think he's not going to be our wide receiver 2, but he's our tight end 1, and he's making plays. He doesn't just make short catches for the first. He goes down the field. He gets wide open.
He's good. Next, Tyler Ervin. So he's like our 4th running back. He's also a returner. Hopefully Tavon Austin's gone so he can take back those roles. And yeah, he just adds an element to the offense that's pretty invaluable to us, right? A lot of motion. Sometimes he'll get it. Sometimes he'll catch it. He could be decent depth if he's the 4th running back. I'm fine with getting him back again. He shouldn't be that much as well.
I have a love-hate relationship with Ervin because he does fumble and he does run backwards on punt returns, which is very frustrating for me as a fan to watch. But he can be a wide receiver and he can be a running back. He's kind of like a Ty Montgomery to me, and I want to bring him back. He's not going to be expensive, and he won't fumble. He won't.
And then Raven Green. So he's like the nickel linebacker safety convert. I think our defense is solid when he's in there. He's pretty, fast. He's really strong. He's had injury issues is the only thing. I think we should definitely get him back. Our defense is better with him than without him, and he definitely serves a role that we drafted Josh Jones to fill, but he couldn't. He was a little too undersized. But yeah, Raven Green would be solid.
Yeah, Raven Green, he's a little underrated, and he plays with emotion. He hits hard,
Yeah.
and he gets up, and he's always on fire. He's always lifting up his brothers out there on the field, and it's fun to watch him. It really is.
And then the next guy, Randy Ramsey. So basically, he's like our fourth outside linebacker right now. That's the main reason I'd say we have to bring him back, just because we don't have any more depth there. Um, really, not much to say on
Yeah,
him.
I'm with you on that one. Yep, we
And
gotta
then
bring him back.
Billy Wynn. So he's a D end. He's just a big dude, and when I've seen him in there, like I feel like he does his job like just fine. Not nothing like too crazy. Pretty decent run stuffer though.
Yep.
All right, and now we can move into the questionables. So these are guys that on the fence about. So first one, Corey Linsley. So why is Corey Linsley questionable, Nick?
Because I think me and you both want him to come back, but also know he's probably not going to come back. I
Yeah.
think that's why we have him as questionable. The Packers don't like giving third contracts to offensive linemen, but Lindsey, he does a great job protecting Rodgers. He's a good guy. He plays the games, and I want us to bring him back, but I don't have a lot of hope that we will.
Yeah, I'm with you. He was a top 3 center in the league last year, top 3 or top 5, either or. So he's really good. But yeah, like I've said, third contracts, and they drafted a ton of dudes last year, and it looks like they're developing. So tough to say whether he'll come back. The next guy, Lane Taylor. So he was a guard that we had starting until we drafted Elton. He got injured. Elton came in, looked insane, has been really, really invaluable to our roster. Do you think we should sign Lane Taylor back?
For cheap, yes, because he's a good backup line. He was good before Elton went in. Before he gets injured. I think it's his ankles. He has some problem. He's always taping him up, but a lot of linemen are. But I do like Lane Taylor, and he's a good backup guard. He gets the job done, and he's someone I don't want him to be in because that means Elton's injured or maybe Billy Turner. But if he's in, I'll still feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, he'd be a really good backup on a vet min. Whether they like him more than the young guys that they drafted last year, that's to be seen. But yeah, I'd be cool with him back. And then Jamal Williams, we already talked about him.
Yep.
Kevin King, I'm more of on the side of like, let's bring him back. I know everyone's calling for his head because of what happened in the last game we played. Do you think he'll be back or no?
I don't think he'll be back. I don't want him back. I'd be fine if he was back, but I don't think he'll be back because 90% of Packers fans don't want him back. And he's kind of like the scapegoat for the last championship game.
Exactly. I would like Kevin King back if we couldn't get another guy in free agency. I know we've drafted guys high, and Jair is really the only one that's really been all that great. Josh Jackson, Demarius Randall, Quentin Rollins. All 3 of those dudes were really not all that great for us yet. And it's kind of tough to bank on, like, can we draft a guy to come in and be really, really good? That's my main reason for, like, wanting Kevin King back. To be seen how he acts, like, if he leaves or if he's good. Next, Montravius Adams. What are your thoughts?
I'm indifferent on him. I'm fine with him coming back. I'm okay with us letting him go. He's a good player when he's out there. He's just not out there a lot.
Exactly, yeah. And we drafted him in the 3rd round, and maybe that's why I'm a little more bearish on him because I expected more. But he's shown to be okay, and then other times, the beginning of his career, he was really not all that good. I'd say probably no and roll with the younger guys, but it depends if they draft interior D-line or not. Maybe they need to bring him back. Next is Will Redmond. So I think he's our 3rd safety. Yeah, he is our 3rd safety. Unless you'd consider Raven Green ahead of him, I wouldn't because Raven Green is more of a linebacker than anything. But do you think we should sign Will Redmond?
I do because he's right behind Amos and Savage, who obviously Amos and Savage should be out there most of the plays, and they're great safeties. But then when they need to rest, Will Redmond, he's a good 3rd guy. He's not starting safety, but he's a good 3rd guy that I like to see out there on the field.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we should keep him. Tough to see like what they will do. He should be inexpensive as well. And the last guy, Damon Snacks Harrison, he played 1 game or 2 games for us
2 games.
in the playoffs, and I think he was honestly pretty good. I mean, his role was basically just like be a run stuffer. I think he can do that for cheap. I think it'd be a great addition. I don't know if he wants to come back and play. He kind of didn't really want to play for the Seahawks mid-season. It's more of a
Yeah,
question of like, will he want to play for us? I
he
think.
kind of just wanted to get out of the Seahawks, and we're like, all right, here. And he did well. I liked how he played. And for cheap, yes, I'd want him. But if he's asking for more, if we're just a little uncomfortable on how much he wants, no, we don't need him.
Yeah. Next, so these are guys that me and Nick agree. No way, just don't bring him back. First one's going to be Aaron Jones. We talked about this earlier. We're not going to go too much into depth on this. Next is Tim Boyle. So I think both me and you are like, all right, I think it's time for Jordan Love to step into that secondary role. If Rodgers is to go down, please don't go down. But yeah, like he's the de facto backup because he's been in the system, and I just think they're trying to preserve Jordan Love's value.
I like Tim Boyle. He was the
Yeah.
preseason MVP a couple seasons ago, which was just fantastic to hear. He had like 111 passer rating in his preseason games.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, Jordan Love's the backup. Tim Boyle beat up Deshaun Kaiser a couple years ago for the backup, but it's time to move on. And I don't think the Packers will draft a third string. I'm sure they'll just sign some either veteran or young guy in free agency that's an undrafted or probably an undrafted free agent. That's who I think our third string will be.
Something like that. And then Burgess, um, I don't really see the reason to bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many thought like again, like we don't really know too much about him. Haven't seen him play too much. And then the next guy, Tavon Austin. So I actually had high hopes for him. I thought he could do something. He fumbled in the on a punt return, kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. He was okay as a gadget guy, but I don't know. I think Tyler Urban could do exactly what he did. He caught like a screen or two. He really did not do all that much.
Yeah, when we signed Tavon Austin, I was actually very happy. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
we got a punt returner, we got a guy who can play running back and wide receiver. And I was like, all right, yay, Tyler Urban, he's been fumbling. Tavon Austin does not fumble punt returns. What's he do on his first game? He fumbles the punt return. It was very, very frustrating for me. And then he had some great grabs where like he's kind of doing what we were talking about we want James White to do, where he was playing receiver from the backfield. And we just don't need that from him anymore. We're not going to get him back. There's no reason to get him back. He's gone. His career is probably just about over, and he's not going to be a Packer.
Yep. And then the next guys, Nijman, Taylor, Ento, and Nickerson. We don't really know too much about them. They're like the 53rd guys on the roster. So we're fine. If they come back, great. If they're gone, it's not like too big of a deal in our eyes. And then another guy too, J.K. Scott, just throwing it out there. Maybe they cut him or not. I don't think he's a free agent this year, but it's coming up soon. And he hasn't been all that great. He looked solid and promising his first year. He looks like he's 15 years old.
Maybe 16 now.
Yeah, I mean, his tackling skills were pretty poor. I think he got duped out of his shoes twice. One, the Jacksonville Jaguars game was really bad.
It was annoying.
And then there's another punt return he allowed, and that's probably more on the coverage, but his tackling skills were pretty bad, and his average yards were nothing like spectacular. So if they draft a guy in like the 6th or 7th round, or even go for agency, fine with me.
Yeah. J.K. Scott declined a lot. He was very good his first couple of years. We got him out. We got him in the 5th round from Alabama, and he was a good punter, but he wasn't that this year.
Yeah, and especially the guy who was drafted around him, Dixon, on the Seattle Seahawks.
That's the first team All-Pro right there.
Yeah, no, he's been spectacular. Maybe that's why we're a little down on him, because usually you don't draft punters as high as the 5th round, it's not even that like high of a pick, obviously, but still.